Let's go for it! I like the dark stuff. Give me the dark stuff. I like the dark stuff. Give me the dark stuff.
Hey there, everybody. It's me, your buddy Dave, the host here at The Dark Stuff. Thanks a lot for checking out my new video. Much appreciated. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you some footage of some of the concerts I've seen recently. Saw a couple of festivals. You just saw Squeeze there a little bit ago, a band I've been listening to for almost 30 years. Never saw live until just now, so now I can check that one off the bucket list, you know. And I'm also just going to go over quickly a couple of new releases, but I'm not going to delve too deeply into that just yet. We'll wait till we get there. So let's start off with this year's Maha Music Festival. If you go back in my archives, you'll see that I've done videos for the festival for the last couple of years. I've worked it for the last 6 or 7 years as a stage manager on the side stage. They have 2 stages at the festival. This year's headliner was Lizzo. On Saturday night, on Friday night, it was Jenny Lewis and Courtney Barnett. And if you know anything about my musical taste, you know I'd be much more excited for Friday night because Jenny Lewis, Courtney Barnett, and Snail Mail all performing on the same night was pretty fucking great as far as I was concerned. I mean, it was like 3 of the top female indie rock artists of the last couple of years all performing one right after the other. It was pretty awesome. And they didn't disappoint, you know. I don't have any footage of Jenny Lewis, except I do have this picture of her backstage playing with my little 1.5-year-old nephew. So that's my Jenny Lewis footage. I didn't shoot any of her show. She was really cool about people being on the side of the stage, but I don't know. I didn't shoot any. I just kind of watched it. Courtney Barnett, I have a little bit. Her show was pretty great, but we don't have anything, you know. I just have one little quick video of it. Say I was like thoroughly impressed with how just rocking Courtney Barnett was. I really was not anticipating that. I thought that she'd be good, you know. I love all of her albums and I think she's a great artist. I wasn't expecting her to just be so freaking ferocious, you know, because I saw her earlier in the day when she and her band arrived, you know, and she first of all looked like she weighed like 80 pounds soaking wet, which was shocking to me that she was so thin. And she was just all, you know, hey, what's up, guys? You know, thanks, you know, whatever. And then she gets on stage and she's just, you know, I mean, of course, it's 12 hours later or whatever, but either way, it was cool. Snail Mail, also on the first day of the festival, they were on my stage, so I got to see them like right up close, and they were really, really good. I mean, she's got a new EP out that just came out right prior to the festival. The album is still really solid. It's called Lush on Matador Records. it wasn't going to blow you away from a performance perspective. I mean, it was not like, they were putting on just this like super extravaganza, but it was cool nevertheless. Saturday, I worked the whole festival. Obviously, it was on my stage. Most of the music that day was not personally my thing until the OCs came on. And the OCs closed out my stage on Saturday night. And I have to say, like, I only went in there knowing a little bit about them. I've been hearing their name for years. It's just one of these bands that, you mean to check out, but you never do. To say, after seeing them, I'm a major fan, but I have one story that I want to tell you before I get to the bit about the OCs. So, part of the job of stage manager is you have to make sure that when, the artists arrive, they get their hospitality, they get their passes, they get whatever they got to do, and they get their stuff coordinated, they're geared, gets to the right stage and all of that. It's a whole thing. And some bands have a lot more, they're more complicated, and some are a lot simpler. And the OCs, I assumed, would be very simple, and so they weren't even going to show up until like 4 or 5 o'clock the day of the festival, and they were performing at like 8 or 8:30. So when they got there and they started setting up and everything was going smoothly, then there was a problem. And the problem was that they had these special monitors, these speakers, that they had put in their rider, that it was demanded they had to have them at the show. The festival agreed to get them for them, and they weren't there. And the guy, I think it was John, was starting to get a little agitated and towards me because I'm the stage manager, so I'm the one responsible. And so I understood. It was just like, oh, fuck, we got to get this thing. Luckily, we have a couple of hours. Turns out, one person assumed the other person was bringing them, and the other person didn't bring them. And, this whole fucking rigmarole, after about an hour and a half, we finally got these particular speakers. Now, they were monitors, but he wanted them behind him because it's for some like vocal effect. You may be able to see it from some of my footage, but it's basically these two giant monitors that they prop up and put behind the singer, and they do it for their own, purposes. We got it. It was cool. He thanked me for getting it for him. Was like, sorry I had to come down on you or whatever, but it's like, if we don't get the stuff we asked for, there's just no one's ever going to do it. I was like, I totally understand. And then after the set, when they played, like later on, we ended up having a conversation, him and some of the other people that were working there, and they were just super awesome. But basically, more important is the footage. I want to show you some of. They were just amazeballs. Holy fuck, were they good. So one of the new things that I got recently is the vinyl pressing of Nirvana Live and Loud. Now this is their 1993 concert in Seattle as part of an MTV special. It was them and Pearl Jam. They each played a set. I lived in Seattle at the time. It was one of the hardest tickets to get. I had seen Nirvana a few weeks before when they played in the arena in Seattle with Butthole Surfers opening up, and I could not get a ticket for this. But I remember seeing it on MTV, and then I never, heard from it again. It was released on CD apparently a few years ago, and now it's come out on vinyl. It is gatefold. Black vinyl with custom labels. It's very, very cool. Comes with this little collector's item, like a fake backstage pass, which is really just the, on the back side, it's the download code if you want to get a digital copy of the album. I've been on a big Nirvana kick lately. I saw Nirvana back in the day. I'm old enough to have remembered them. Nevermind came out when I was 20. Bleach came out when I was in high school, senior year of high school. So I was a Nirvana fan from the get-go. I lived in Seattle when Kurt died, and I left shortly thereafter. But sometimes, they had such a small amount of output that it's like, I'll go years without really listening to it. I picked up that Live and Loud. It's fucking awesome. Just getting to hear how great they were live, you just kind of forget that. And even as a four-piece, they were fine without Pat Smear, because, Kurt was a little sloppy on the guitar, but it didn't really make much difference. They were just so fucking excellent. Set choice was really good on that one. I'm still waiting for some secret track that Courtney has hidden in a vault or something that I want to hear at some point that they did, but, I'm not holding out too much hope for that. So I mentioned earlier that I saw Squeeze for the first time recently. It was September 4th. They played at a place called the Holland Performing Arts Center. It's a really, really nice performing arts center. It's somewhat recently built within the last 10 years. It's so pristine and just perfect. And they have ushers and they have these nights. It's a weird place to see a rock show. But I kind of realized that, since Squeeze started in 1976, and their peak was kind of like 82, 83 was when their biggest period was, at least here in the States, they're not exactly what, a rock band anymore, and their audience is largely old. When I felt like a young guy at the show, I was loving it. Holy crap. Look at me. I was one of the youngest guys at the entire show. I really enjoyed it. Everyone there was in their 60s, It was fun. And I was wearing a Motorhead t-shirt at a Squeeze concert, and this drunk woman came up to me, just ran up to me from out of nowhere and goes, "Peace sells, but who's buying?" And I'm looking at her like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you saying that? And then I'm thinking for a second, then I look at my shirt, I see Motorhead. She thinks Motorhead, Megadeth. She got them confused. She was trying to make a clever comment, but she got the band wrong. And I'm like, oh, I think I know what you mean. No, that's Megadeth. This is Motorhead. And then we had a laugh, and then I couldn't ditch this chick for 15 minutes. She just would not stop talking. Other stories later where she kind of got up in the middle of the show and started making this woman was nuts. I don't know, but this has happened to be 3-4 times where crazy drunk women just run up to me and start gabbing. I don't know what's going on. I must have some something about me says come up, and if you're drunk and crazy, come up to me because I want to talk to you. But I don't. Okay. Squeeze was great. They played all the hits. It was different in Tilbrook and a backup band, and I guess that's what Squeeze is these days. Jules Holland wasn't there, any of the other guys, I don't even know the rest of their names, but I didn't care. It felt like Squeeze to me. They played anything that I would have wanted to hear off of the Singles 45 and Under collection, which is mostly what I know. I have 4 or 5 Squeeze records on vinyl, but I do find myself just playing that greatest hits because it's like a perfect album. You know, they did Cool for Cats. They did, I mean, pulling muscles from the shell, anything, you know. So I don't know. It was a fantastic set. I'm glad that I can finally knock that off my list. Okay, I went to another festival. This one I didn't work at. This was in Omaha. It was a much smaller scale. It was only 4 acts, called the Shadow Ridge Music Festival. It was at a country club called the Shadow Ridge Country Club, way out in West Omaha, out in the middle of an area with like $500,000 to $2 million houses in the area, huge golf course, etc. Not exactly kind of place where I spend a lot of time, but I didn't know how they had set up the thing. I mean, it's like a country club. Are you really going to be able to have a good festival? They had a good setup. I mean, they had a great stage. They had reserved seats in the front. They had general admission in the back. They had these spots on the sides, I guess, were for sponsors of the festival. And everyone there, you know, what they're looking for this thing is stuff that appeals to people in their 50s and 60s, pretty wealthy. So they were in college around the same time as me, early 90s, maybe late 80s, and kind of alternative-ish bands from that period. The headliner of the festival was the Violent Femmes, and they also had Soul Asylum, Matthew Sweet, and the Millions. So I got a pair of free tickets for the reserve section, which was great because I wouldn't have wanted to be back in the back with the general admission because you're at such a distance. It just didn't seem like it would be as fun for me personally. So unfortunately, I missed the Millions. If you're not familiar with them, they're a band from Lincoln, Nebraska, from the early 90s. College rock band. They got up to the major label level. They had a record on with Polygram. Had a minor college hit. They broke up shortly thereafter. They still play around Nebraska. So they were opening the festival. Then Matthew Sweet came on. That's right about the time that I got there. And if you go into my archives again, I've done reviews of Matthew Sweet shows. He lives in Omaha, so he plays here more frequently than he might play in other cities. Matthew Sweet was sitting down when he got on stage, and yeah, he's a little heavier than he used to be, and I think at first people looked at him as like, oh my God, can you not even stand? Which is cruel and not fair and not true, by the way. He points out right away, the reason I'm in a chair is because I hurt my back last week, and I'm not, so anyways, he laid it out there right away that the reason why he was sitting down was not because, oh my God, I'm so fat, I can't. I mean, that's lame. I know that's what people were buzzing about in the crowd. And some people made some comments when I posted a picture on Instagram. It's not true. I mean, could he stand to go to the gym? Sure. I mean, I can too. But Point is, he was sitting because he had a back injury, okay? His band was great. He had got two guys from Velvet Crush. He had the guitar player who also plays in Dream Syndicate, who is amazing. I mean, he's one of my favorite guitar players. Love that guy. Good set from Matthew Sweet. Again, played the hits. It's kind of what this kind of crowd wanted to hear. They wanted to hear Sick of Myself. They wanted to hear Girlfriend. They wanted to hear Evangeline. You know, they want to hear the hits. That's clear.
She's on another planet. She's in my dream. She's some kind of angel. Know what I mean? Tie her on, she fits like a glove. Tonight she only thinks about the Lord above. Live and dream. Live and dream. I think I love.
And next up was Soul Asylum, which I guess was the main band that I went to see. And I have a complicated relationship with Soul Asylum because they used to be one of my favorite bands back in the late 80s, early 90s. And then I think they kind of cheesed out at one point by about 92, 93. And I haven't really liked too much of what they've been doing. But full disclosure, I kind of stopped listening to it after a while. So they've maybe had 4 or 5 records that I haven't really even heard or given a chance to because I've already sort of written them off. So fair or not, you know, I don't know. But I went there to see them anyways. I tried to go with an open mind. The band is Dave Pirner from the original lineup and a bunch of other people. Okay, the drummer Michael Bland used to play with Prince. He's been there for a while with Dave, but beyond that, it was just newer guys. Good set though. I actually enjoyed it. There was only one song pre Grave Dancers Union. They did the song Closer to the Stars. That's one of my favorite tunes by them. But a lot of the stuff they were playing was really stuff I either didn't know or I'd sort of, you know, like Black Gold and Runaway Train and stuff like that. Just songs that I never liked back in the day. But they put out a solid performance. I ended up enjoying it. My friend that came with me, she ended up really digging the show and didn't even think she liked Soul Asylum. So all in all, it was a good performance.
Once in a while.
We bailed before Violent Femmes, so I have nothing to say on them. I've never been much of a fan. I have seen them before, more than once, and I got nothing to report on that.
Speak at the academy to prove his hypothesis is true, that we're losing this human race.
Okay, so in my last video, I talked about a reissue of an album from the band called the Mommyheads. They're from San Francisco, or at least they used to be. Now I think they're based out of New York. And talked about how great it was, but how obscure the band was, etc. And then they just put out a new album called Future You. Okay, again, they've reformed. This was a 90s band. This is their new 2019 album. Here's a postcard that came along with it. Okay, and this is very sonically similar to a lot of what they were doing with Bingham's Hole. So it's a really, really good album. Again, they're saying, you know, if you like Jack White, Of Montreal, Lemon Twigs, Wilco, The Shins, Guided by Voices, Big Star, REM. Those are the bands that the radio promoter is saying, if you're into those bands, maybe you would like the Mommyheads. Don't know. I got an email from Adam Elk from the band, Adam Cohen, as he used to be known, thanking me for playing the record, saying they're going to maybe do some touring in the States, and if I was interested in doing an interview, he could help me set that up, etc. Well, I wrote him a letter. I wrote him back, and I said, hey, I don't know if you remember this, but back in the 90s, you know, and when I lived in Madison, Mommyheads came through town, and you guys stayed at my house. And, you know, he emailed back, oh, was that this show or that show? And it was neither of those shows. But either way, it was cool to connect, and I pointed out that I have some connections here in Omaha, and maybe we could get them to do a show in Omaha. So keep you posted on that. But either way, the new album, Future You, is out now from the Mommyheads. Really, really good stuff. Gringo Star is a band I talk about on this channel, and I know Will from Vinyl Potato is also a big fan. This is a live album called Controlled Burn, live in Atlanta, and you can listen to it on their Bandcamp page. That's how you order it. I got sent a CD, a promo of it. It's also on vinyl. This is a great fucking live album. I've still never seen these guys live, but listening to this album makes me want to see them more than I ever did before, frankly. I mean, really, really good live album. Solid stuff.
When it comes, yeah, she danced through it, she danced through it, got a problem that she's trying.
And then the last two CDs I want to talk about are kind of disappointments from artists that I really, really like. And I guess we'll start with Twin Peaks, because this is the lesser disappointment. Okay, this is the new album, Look Out Low. It just came out. Okay, I've been raving about this band for years on this channel. I've done concert reviews, I've done record reviews. I rave. Their live album was great, their singles collection was great, all three of their previous studio albums are fantastic all the way through. This new album, I just don't know. I don't know. They sound like a different band. They sound like a early 70s sort of white soul mixed with jammy stuff mixed with, I don't know. It's just really, there's something strange about it. I want to like it so bad because I think these guys are so great. They're coming to Omaha in November, and of course I'm going to see them, no question. And maybe these songs will present better live. They recorded this album in the UK with a guy named Ethan Johns. And all the press material is, oh, well, you know, they took more time, and this is what they really always wanted to do, and yada, yada, yada. I don't know. All I'm saying is right now I've listened to this album 3 times, and I've failed to lock on to more than 1, maybe 2 songs where I'm like, I really like this. You know? Just the edge is kind of taken out, and they're kind of becoming a jam band without the jamming, you know? So there's no noodling, there's no none of that. Kind of like a Grateful Dead studio album or something, where they don't have all that noodling. It's tune-oriented, but it's just, I don't know. Maybe we'll revisit this, but right now I'm saying this is kind of a disappointment, and I really regret saying that. Or I regret feeling it more than regret saying it. It's the truth, frankly. Last is the new album from Sleater-Kinney, The Center Won't Hold. This is the band's, I want to say like 7th or 8th album. Brand new. They're on a new label, Mom and Pop. They left Sub Pop, which put out their comeback record a few years ago, No Cities to Love, which was amazing. Their live album, Live in Paris, amazing. Their comeback has been extremely solid. They went to work in the studio with St. Vincent, who you all know, I love. Okay, I think she like practically walks on water, but there is this possible chink in her armor here because she's the producer here, and the band just doesn't sound at all the same anymore. So much so that drummer Janet Weiss quit the band when they finished the record. She's in that first video, and then she just abruptly resigned from the group. And the rest of the band didn't want her to leave. I mean, they made it clear. I read an article of Carrie Brownstein, where she talked about how they went to band counseling. They tried to get her to stay. She just did not want to do it anymore. And now, sadly, she was just in a bad car accident, was really injured, and isn't able to do her other work that she was going to do touring with these other bands. But anyways, side note, there's just something off about the album. The arrangements are weird. There's not the same edgy guitar work. The lyrics don't even seem as good as they used to. It's just... Hurry On Home was a lead-off single, so was Can I Go On, and I played them both on my radio show loyally, okay, out of deference to the fact that it's Sleater-Kinney. But now that I've heard the whole album, it's just not that good. I mean, they are trying to consciously change. Now, what are they trying to change to? Did they sell out? Are they trying to go mainstream? No, because have you heard what mainstream music is these days? Okay, it's pop queens, it's Taylor Swift, and it's hip hop. Okay, there is no room for stuff like this in the mainstream. So what they're doing, what they're shifting to, in my mind, has to be an organic thing of like, we just want to do something different. The same way when they made their album The Woods back in the day, which was that really heavy, noisy, skronky, whatever album that turned off some fans at that time who said, this is practically heavy metal Sleater-Kinney. And it was like, they just did it because that's what they wanted to do. I respect that immensely. You're allowed to do what you want to do, but if it's not that good, I'm going to call you out on it. A couple of songs, Reach Out, I think is really good. It's a good, catchy, popish song. The Center Won't Hold, the second half of the song sounds like Sleater-Kinney. One or two songs in the back, I think it was the Dog, the Body, or The Future's Here, were sound, they still have some of that punch, some of that edge, but ultimately this is just boring. I don't understand what they're trying to do. I'm not going to cast aspersions on their motives or say that they're trying to go corporate or sell out or whatever, because again, like I said, if you're going to sell out, they would sound like Taylor Swift or something, because that's what mainstream music is these days, and that's not what they're doing. So I think it's just a on the level stylistic change, but I'm just going to say I'm kind of rejecting it. Unfortunately, it's the first Sleater-Kinney album in over 20 years of being a fan that I just am saying, nah, not into it. And just the other night, I finally got to see Red Cross again for the second time. The first time was back in 1997 when I saw them open for the Presidents of the United States of America. In this case, they're doing a tour with the Melvins as the opening act, but they're also sharing a lineup because Dale Crover of the Melvins, former Nirvana drummer also, is playing drums for Red Cross. And then Jeff McDonald, the bass player of Red Cross, is then playing bass in the Melvins. So it's not exactly like one is opening for the other, but it kind of is. I mean, in the sense that Red Cross went on first. Red Cross has a new album, this one, Beyond the Door. It's just came out on Merge Records. It's amazing. Again, these guys do not have a bad record in their catalog. Really, really excellent stuff. Love it, Produced by the two McDonald brothers. They played a couple of cuts from that record at the show. These guys are just so fun on stage. They just love rocking out, having a good time. It's a crime against music that Red Cross never had more commercial success than they did, because in the 90s, they certainly deserved it. They made some amazing records with like Phase Shifter. When Neurotica was 87, Phase Shifter was the 90s. Show World. All those records, and then Third Eye, they all deserved a wider audience, and it didn't happen for them. They still continue to have kind of bad luck, but but neither here nor there. Stephen McDonald landed on his feet. He's married to Charlotte Caffrey from the Go-Go's. So it's like, he's not worried about money, I guess. But anyways, neither here nor there. It was a great rocking set. They were so loud. Oh my fucking God. I couldn't even believe how loud they were for just a small club. Fascinating thing for me was just seeing Dale Crover again, because I've seen the Melvins a number of times in the past. He did play drums on some songs on Nirvana Bleach and probably did some live sets with them. Calling him a Nirvana drummer is maybe a stretch, but either way, it was cool just seeing him doing something different than just performing in the Melvins, because that's the only way that I've ever known him. After Red Cross, this show is a Monday night. I've seen the Melvins maybe 10 times, and so I decided to dip out and not watch them. I hear that was a massive mistake, because some friends of mine said that they'd seen the Melvins 10, 12 times or whatever, and this was the best set they ever did. So unfortunately, I missed maybe the best Melvin show, but Monday nights, dudes, it's hard when it's like getting to be 11 o'clock and it's like, I'm old and I have to work the next morning or whatever. It's like, it's hard to stay out there. But if this Red Cross Melvins tour does come to your town, even if you're saying, I don't know about the Melvins, or I don't know about, go to this show, okay? You have to see Red Cross before they retire, because they're probably not going to do this forever, but they were so fucking enjoyable. It just ear-to-ear grin on my face the entire hour that they performed. Rock fucking solid. Okay, everybody, this is wraps up today's video. You're going to want to stay tuned. I'll be having my Replacements Dead Man's Pop box set review coming out shortly. You do not want to miss that. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.